Yay, so we're live.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Right, you want to give a shout out?
Yep. Okay, so welcome to another one of our Crown's Facebook Live chats. I think we feel like we've come full circle, right, Alvin? Because our very first time doing Facebook Live was with MX as his guest on his Facebook Live chat. So it's really nice of him to agree to come on our Facebook Live chat this time round. So thanks, MX. Really happy to have you here with us.
Thanks for
without him, actually, like I don't think we will be actually doing a Facebook Live at all because we didn't.
Yeah, we got the idea from you.
No, I think eventually everybody would, because I think every major watch platform is already doing all the live sessions, be it IG or Facebook these days. So eventually, you guys would have done it before you got my prompt.
I think doing it first time for us to appear on Watch Wonderland's platform gave us the confidence to do something, and then showed us how it could be done and how what kind of setting and what was required. So anyway, thanks to you. We just reported.
You are natural, so you guys will be all right.
So Cecil
and hi to Cecil and Ronald. Welcome, guys. Thanks for always joining us on our chat.
Hey, guys. I suspect Cecil is a full-time Facebook user. Yeah.
So the guys here, I guess we all know MX well, but there will be people out there who are tuning in who don't know who you are, what MX stands for, and what Watch Wonderland is about. So maybe just to start off with, MX, can you just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. Hi. So my name is actually Min Xiang, but it's very hard to pronounce, so people just call me MX. And also people mistake me for a girl when they read my name, so they just call me MX for short. Some people know. I'm a team member of Watch Wonderland. So Watch Wonderland, we are a retail concept based in Select City in Singapore, and we focus on micro independence. Primarily micro independence. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's quite a brief summary right there. So before we talk about Watch Wonderland, we will get into all of it. I just want to know a bit about you, MX. Just rewind a bit before Watch Wonderland. What were you doing before, and how you got into this whole watch appreciation, and how did it turn into a career for you?
I have a very how do I put it? Non-linear career path. So I was actually a soldier for about 7+ years. I was a full-time soldier, and then I was concurrently doing F&B business outside. So I was in F&B for quite a number of years, and but all along I was a collector of watches. So I've been collecting watches for a good part of maybe 15 years now. And it was actually through one of my F&B ventures when I was doing whiskey events that I met with Mr. Sugihato, the founder of Army Watches. And I actually caught him one night before he was about to sign a deal with a very major alcohol sponsor for a Saturday Friday event. So I heard about it. I got his number. I called him. I said, "Don't sign with them first. Listen to my pitch first." So I spent the entire night preparing a proposal. The next day I met him, and I showed him what I have in mind, which is to pair, Japanese whiskey. I was the first boutique retailer of Japanese whiskey in Singapore. So my plan was to pair Japanese whiskeys together with his Saturday Friday watches, and with that came about one of the first Saturday Friday events in Singapore, which was actually back then held at was it Nafa or LaSalle? I think LaSalle. Yeah. So
when was that? Which year was that?
That was many years ago, man. I think it was 2015 or so. Yeah, quite a while ago. So from there we became friends, and I was already a Army Watches customer. I was buying Vostok watches from him prior, And then he became like a mentor of mine, taught me a lot about business in general. So subsequent to the closing of my whiskey business, my bar and whiskey business, I was looking like for the next opportunity and next thing to do. And then Sugi actually told me about his idea to form a micro watch exhibition, a microbrand watch exhibition in Singapore. So we planned this together, and then we came to realize that it was a very good idea. Back then, microbrand watches was a very small thing. But there were a lot of brands around the world with nobody to really gravitate them, to govern them in a certain way. So we decided to explore the exhibition, as I mentioned. And then after a while, we thought about it. Look, if we hold it once a year, the brands are coming in to exhibit. Who's going to take care of them for the rest of the year? So we thought about it. You know what? To hell with it. Let's set up a stop. So that's how Watch Wonderland came about.
Okay. But before that, what made you think that it was actually a good idea to go in the watch business? Because when Watch Wonderland started, I guess it was 3 years ago. There was a time where things were already kind of not being very certain in the watch retail industry already, right?
Yeah, you're right. So the economy was not very good already back then, but we did see a very huge opportunity because you have all these luxury brands pricing themselves out of reach, and you have these emerging brands, what most people like call micro brands, coming out offering very good value products, but there wasn't really anybody who could enable them to conduct business on the physical front. They were mostly only selling online and direct to customers. So it was a very huge gamble, to be honest. We didn't know whether it would work, but thankfully, after about 2 years and 10 months so far, it has proven to be a relative success, and we have managed to survive.
Okay. We will talk a bit more about the business later, but I'm just really very interested in finding out more about you and how you actually got into watches and what kind of watches do you like and what actually got you into watches in the first place. So, do you remember the first time where you bought a watch and you thought this is it, this is could be a lifelong passion or obsession for me? Did it start off with you that way? Was there a lightning bolt kind of moment for you?
I think everybody has that standard my first Mickey Mouse watch story, right? Like you had the first Mickey Mouse watch and then you got obsessed with it, and you spend your time on the bed at night playing with a watch. So I have a similar thing. My first one was a Casio. It was not an F91, but I think it was an F43. It was like, I come from a very, very humble family. So to have a watch that cost maybe like $6, $7 back then was a very huge deal for me. And it was digital, so it was very high tech, right? So from then on, I wore the watch. I slowly moved into, basic fashion watches and all that. But I think my first proper mechanical watch was actually a Vostok. When I got my first paycheck from the military, I went out to back then Wisma, and I saw this shop called Red Army Watches. So it was there that I bought my first mechanical automatic watch, which was a Vostok Europe.
What drew you to that watch?
It was very masculine looking. It was classy. It was back then. I thought it was a watch with a lot of presence for me. Yeah, it looks sturdy. I like sturdy things, so I got it without knowing much about watches back then.
And that's where you met Sugi, right?
No, I have not met the boss yet. So I was just a customer. In fact, I met the person who sold me my first watch is currently my colleague at Watch Wonderland, Dani. Yeah. So he has been with the company for many, many years now. Yeah.
Awesome. And if you could summarize your journey in watches with 3 timepieces that you own, what would they be?
Yeah. So For the you guys asked me about this before, so I've chosen 3 watches that I think are rather critical to me. Out of the few hundreds I've owned,
The
that
few
kind
hundreds
of
that you
form my. I think it's very common nowadays in Singapore. Like everybody owns like
Really?
not that I own a few
I don't have a few hundred watches.
Not for me.
really, man. But
No.
I think it's very common. Everybody is watching right now would have owned at least 100 before, ma. I mean, you
No,
buy and
not
sell and
me.
then you trade all that, no, man.
I think maybe the swag group of people can, but not
The
for me.
swag group
Yeah,
with the NWAs every day, you know.
Yeah, in fact, I'm considered a very amateur collector compared to a lot of them who like have a new watch every 2 days or every 2 hours.
So
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
back to your watches.
The first watch is actually a Omega. So this is an Omega Rancho. It was a very early piece that I got. Why this watch was significant to me because so this is actually a 2996 Rancho, housing a caliber 284. As you can see on the dial, it says 30 millimeters. Hi Connie. Well, my hair was like that. We never cool. It says 30 millimeters on the dial, but it's only because that is actually the diameter of the movement, not of the case size. So back then in the late 1950s to early 1960s, the 30 mm diameter movements were known for reliability, were known for their durability. So they put it on the dial instead of the case size or the water resistance. This is actually a 35.5, 35.8 millimeters case. Yeah. So why this watch is important to me? Because it was a very heavy curation I made. For anybody who's watching, who's very versed in Omega watches, right? There are a few things wrong with this watch. Number one, the crown is not original. The crown is not original to the watch. The hour hand is not original to the watch. So if you know that this is called a broad arrow configuration. Broad arrow hour hands have swept back tips, whereas this one has straight tips. So it's obviously a wrong set of hands lah. And you can see the bezel is obviously over polished. It's definitely over polished. But the dial is original, probably mildly retouched. The case is original. I opened up the case back and the movement, it looks fine. But this was my first lesson in buying vintage watches, where I found that, I shouldn't buy things based on impulse. I saw this, I was blown away. I just got it immediately. And yeah, it only subsequent to that, then I came about knowing that I should be doing research prior to buying a watch.
So you did your research after buying this watch?
Pretty
or
much.
did someone alert you to the inconsistencies?
No. I'm a very sentimental guy when it comes to watches. Not people. I don't really like people. I like watches. So for watches, right? After I buy a watch, I will read about it. After I buy it, I will try to go in depth into the history, the brand, how the design came about, blah blah blah. So I did it with this watch, and it was then I realized I should have done my due diligence prior to buying the watch. So all in all, it wasn't a very big loss. I still could sell it for. I got my capital back, but it was not.
So you don't have it anymore?
I don't have it anymore. I sold it already. But I made sure to let the new buyer know that it was the issues with it. But it was through this watch that I realized the importance of research. And it was doing the research on this watch that I learned a lot about watches, the history of Omega, the history of military watches, and the sub-collections within Omega.
Okay. And you bought it where and how?
This one was bought from a vintage dealer online in the UK. I think it was the UK.
eBay, yeah.
eBay.
The motive of eBay.
The cesspool of watches. But this wasn't my last mistake. I made a lot of mistakes after that again and again.
When it came to vintage watches or all watches?
When it came to vintage watches. Yeah.
Okay, so what are your other tips or things not to do when you buy vintage watches?
So the common adage is this: don't just buy the watch, buy the seller. That's very important. Yep. So it's important to understand that who the seller is, what their track record is. And number two, don't ever trust eBay ratings. You can buy 1,000 bots to give you 5 stars and 4.5 stars. Yeah. Number three, trust. Base your research on esteemed publications, for example, like Crown Watch Blog.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Don't just read enthusiast poses on forums to validate your research. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. And across the years, I've seen so many people spreading misinformation.
I've always wondered though, like, isn't there that element of risk when you buy a watch online, because you're not able to, especially with a vintage watch, right? You're not able to assess the condition, the movement inside. There's a lot of unknowns. So, what makes it such a draw to buy online? Is it the pricing or the availability of models that you can't get anywhere else?
It is the access. The second part of your question is the access. You are able to reach out to so many collectors around the world, be it through forums, through watch marketplaces, through Facebook groups, and the variety is staggering.
Okay.
And
okay, let's go for the second.
Okay, the second watch is an example I show where I actually made a good purchase. So this is a reference 3440. It's a Calatrava, obviously, housing a 27460 caliber. This was an example where I actually did my research well. Had bought the watch with proper documentation, with accessories intact, and every single part was legit. So this was, I think, a accumulation of my studies in a way.
Was this also online?
No, this one was in person. So I actually bought this from an overseas dealer in person. I went on a trip there. I saw the watch. I spent a couple of days in the country, but I spent the next 1.5 days learning about this, going back to ask more questions, and trusting the seller. And subsequently bought it on my second last day there.
So it's a watch that particularly issued for Tiffany and Co.
Right. So you will see a lot of co-branded dials these days, right? Most of the time, it was not actually issued for them, but it was actually, if it says Tiffany and Co, it means that the watch was actually destined for sale in a Tiffany and Co store back then. It was very common for jewelry stores to be selling watches.
Okay. And when you go into meeting someone, looking at the watch and trying to verify the watch, like, for me personally, I wouldn't have the balls to actually like go in and like try to authenticate the watch. But you said you've done enough research. Like, how much research do you need to do to actually go in and say, okay, this is a legit piece, the movement is legit, the dial is like, original, and all the parts are original. How do you actually have the knowledge and the courage to actually go for a watch and make that decision like that?
I would say it's not so much having the confidence, but it's more like having an educated ignorance, if it makes sense to you. Like, look, every time you're jumping off a plane with a parachute on, the chance of you dying is very real, right? But you know that after you do it a lot of times, your fundamentals are there, your equipment check is done, your everything looks okay. You jump. It's the same as buying watches. You make a research, do your due diligence as best as you can, and then you jump. And then pray for the best, in a way. Okay. I think a lot of people are saying that there are normally two camps. One camp says that don't ever buy vintage watches because you never know what you're getting. The other camp says that it's possible to do 100% comprehensive research. I stand in the middle of this. I have seen, I'm sure you have heard as well, dealers with decades of experience and of international renown are also conned. They check the watch, the lug side, the case front, the bezel, the crystal, the dial side, below the indices, everything is fine. And then one day when they send for servicing, they open up, the dial has been shouldered on in a very bad manner to the movement itself. Things like that. It's actually, you cannot be too careful. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Still, yeah, you're right, man. That's deep, man. He's a deep guy. That's
Spot on.
Yeah.
It's not deep, I just don't know the correct words to say, so I'm just coming out with random words.
Your team also deep, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Ronald social media, right? Yeah. So the Patek was my first experience where I actually bought a watch and I realized that it was a good purchase. And I was happy with myself that I reached a level where I could be mindful with my own money and be careful with my money. And that was a very interesting Patek. Can we show it again? Because it's a model that actually turned out to be rather uncommon. It is, if I'm not mistaken, the only color travel ever with such extended indices and with a triple index on the 12 o'clock. It's not so much the Tiffany & Co branding, it's actually the dial configuration. So it was this particular watch that also deepened my appreciation for details like this in watches. So I would say this is another cornerstone in my journey of learning about watches. Yeah.
I assume this one is still in your collection?
It is no longer in my collection.
No?
It was a very so back then I had some nice watches. I had to sell them to fund business.
Yeah.
No, Watch Wonderland. Another business. And it was not a bad choice because if I kept them, some of them would have been worth quite a lot now. But don't put sentimental value to watches.
Wow, how can you say that?
Financial value to watches.
Sentimental value, man. If not, what would it be worth, right? Okay, let's look at this one. This one confirms sentimental value, right?
This one is important to me because I am actually a very huge fan of calculator watches. As I mentioned, I was a kid, I had a Casio, but I could never afford a calculator watch. So when I was older, I could have the money to do so. I went crazy and bought every single variant of a calculator watch I can find. This is a rather rare JDM DBC 15007C 3CJF. It's a JDM model, so it's rather rare. And it looking at calculator watches just makes me very happy. Yeah.
Okay. I was I was rewatching Back to the Future, and then the Michael J. Fox character has a calculator watch. I don't know if you know anything about that watch because there's a watch that appeared on my Facebook feed. This other brand was remaking a Back to the Future watch, but it wasn't a calculator watch. So I thought that was a bit of this. Yeah, they should have the original calculator watch in Back to the Future if they want to have it.
Yeah,
Marty McFly, that's right.
Yeah, Ronald will know. You cannot replace the Marty McFly. He's so iconic.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can still get the Marty McFly now, Ronald. I don't know.
I think he still has. He has it. He has it.
Oh, he has it.
Yeah, he has it. I'm very sure he has it. He was actually one of the first one to popularize it in Instagram.
He's a OG legit influencer, right? Watch influencer.
He's Singapore's #1 IG influencer.
Oh, he does have it in his collection. Cannot sell that one.
So yeah, these are the three watches that I think. But back to the calculator watches. The calculator watches actually is my favorite watch silhouette ever. So I take it with me when I try to design watches these days as well.
Sorry, do you say design watches?
Yeah.
Wonderful. What have you
We'll
designed so
talk about
far?
that later.
Sorry,
We'll
what
talk
did you
about
say?
that later.
Okay.
We'll talk about it later on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about Ronald. Ronald says he would rather be known as a watch collector. I'm sure.
He is known as a watch
Also
collector.
be influencer lah, which you are lah.
Well, you have to be a collector first to be an influencer. No, not
That's true.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about Watch Wonderland. For those of you who have just joined us, MX is from Watch Wonderland. I mean, he's a co-founder, and Alvin and I, we've been to Watch Wonderland a couple of times. We've even filmed a video there, and we really love the store and you know what it represents for all the micro brands there. So Ming Xiang, again, for viewers who don't know what Watch Wonderland is about, can you just give us a brief introduction?
We are a very different watch store that is, that is made up 50% of idealism. Why do I say that? So every one of us in the store are watch lovers, watch collectors. We set up the business with the intent of really reviving the interest in watches. That is actually the primary intent. To bring back to really inculcate a different culture of retail or watch retail in Singapore that we think is missing in our ecosystem. So the secondary part, of course, is that we do sell. We have come to be known as the first microbrand store in the world. Today we have about over 40 independent brands. Over 40 independent brands. Only a handful of them are commercially known brands like Seiko and Sarah Friday. And Sarah Friday also started as a microbrand as well. Yeah.
Okay, so you have over 40 niche independent brands, and for people who are casual buyers or consumers of watches, naturally people gravitate to, I want to buy a watch, I want to buy an Omega, I want to save up for a Rolex. So what makes you think that a niche business with brands that people don't know about, is able to thrive as a retail concept in Singapore? Because the watches you carry are legit well designed, and collectors who know a bit about watches would like to buy those watches. But for people who, there's only a very small number of those kind of collectors in Singapore. There are, but they are quite niche also. So you need to have sort of kind of mass appeal at the same time, right? To make it a viable, thriving business. So what makes you think that kind of concept actually will work for the Singapore consumer?
We didn't think, we didn't know it was viable. Right? We had, as I mentioned, we were the first truly microbrand store in the world. So we had no precedent. We had no basis to form a rational decision that it would work. But why do we believe in the concept is because we believe in the products. I think when you believe in your own products, when you believe in your own team, the people behind it, when you believe in the your concept, even if there's no market, you will be able to build a market. And I think that we have managed to achieve that today, in which, but of course we open up in the store where, in a location where there's actually foot traffic. It would have been a lot easier opening up like in the third floor of Far East Plaza with like a $2,000, $3,000 rental per month in a very small store and slowly sell the watches. But instead we decided to go big and then open it on the first floor in a prime location in Suntec City. Why? Because we wanted the footfall. And with the footfall, we have managed to, through a lot of education, a lot of persuasion, managed to convert a lot of even non-watch collectors into microbrand collectors.
So what's the level of entry to Watch Wonderland? How much do you need to spend to actually get a good watch minimum at Watch Wonderland?
You don't need to spend any money. So the awesome part about our store is that, yeah, we believe they can come in. We will be happy to spend an hour and a half. If I don't need to go toilet or if my team doesn't need to go anywhere, we'll be happy to spend the time with you, talking to you about watches and sharing about our concept. Subsequently, if you leave without buying, but you leave with a better understanding of what microbrands are about, we are really happy. So that has been our intent from day one. Hi, Julian. So that's been our intent from day one, not to really sell. We do not ever try to sell people things. I think anybody who has been in the stock can attest to that. We always aim to educate, to inspire, to inform.
I think I have to say the thing I like about Watch Wonderland is how it's very, it's not intimidating. And because it's such an open space, anyone can just walk in. And to answer your question, Alvin, if you remember the video we did, we can find watches there under $500, right?
Yes.
And they really,
for some people, $500 is a big deal.
Yeah.
And to be able to actually get very, very interesting watches.
They're interesting and they're decent quality. I mean, I personally like Mr. Jones watches quite a lot. I think they're really quirky. And I'm not sure I know anywhere else in Singapore that carries Mr. Jones.
No, we are the sole retailer. In fact, for at least 38, at least the 7 of our brands, we are the sole representative in Singapore, if not in Southeast Asia. And for a handful of brands, we are the only retailer in the world.
Okay, because I guess it's also such a niche concept that you can actually build a culture around it, and the brands. I imagine if I were a micro brand owner, I would be very heartened by the fact that there is actually a space for me to showcase what I'm doing.
We aspire to be that platform for those people.
I mean, then again, the other side, of course, that's another story for another day. If you put on the commercial money making hat, right? You want to promote the culture, but maybe it comes at the expense of not being as commercially like hot or viable at the same time. So that's a very delicate balance that you're doing right there. What you say?
In the Singaporean watch retail industry, we always like to appear very positive and optimistic, right? The reality is this: if you want to make a lot of money, don't even sell watches. It doesn't matter whether you are trying to sell high-end independents like MB&F, commercial luxury like Rolex, or low-end watches in a neighborhood heartland mall. Just don't sell watches if you are really craving for easy money. But that being said, what we are, I'm not saying that we are not viable from a financial point of view. We have to be. Why? Because remember, one of our self-imposed mandates is to provide the brands that we represent a place with longevity, a place that will represent them for an extended period of time. We're not a hit and run business. So that's why we also have to make sure that on the business side of things, we are viable. And I think that's where our big boss, Sugi, comes in. He's the guy, having 16 years of retail experience, he is definitely very aware of that. He's very good at managing the part.
Yeah, props to Sugi.
Yeah.
Could you maybe tell us a bit about you mentioned, there are 37 microbrands that you are the exclusive retailer of. Could you tell us about some of the brands that are available there?
Yeah. So I've actually chosen 5 brands for today's session. So the first one is something that I'm really proud of. This is Kentex. I'm very sure for a lot of people viewing, it's the first time you're ever seeing this brand. And this is actually a Japanese brand. It belongs to a Japanese company with over 28 years of history producing watches, right? So why haven't we heard of it until now? We are actually the first retailer outside of Japan to carry their watches. And apparently, according to the owner, over the past decades or so, when they start venturing out of the domestic market, many retailers have approached them, but they have rejected every single one of them. And when we came along, we presented to them our vision and our concept. They quickly agreed, and we became the first one to carry their brand overseas. So we're really, really proud.
They decided to work with you because Other retailers?
This brand was secured by Sugi. So he was the one that actually spoke to them a couple of years ago at a exhibition where they had a booth. I think it was in Hong Kong. He presented to them the vision of the Watch Wonderland concept, what we're about. I think they really bought into our concept where we promise to educate and be very personal with customers. Because this is a brand, although they have about 28, nearly 3 decades of experience making watches, right? Up till today, it's still run primarily by the father and son, and they are still going to fairs. 2 of them standing behind the booth personally, selling their watches and presenting their watches. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of watches do they make?
They produce an assortment of watches, very much in line with the Japanese format of watch sales. Here you look at Citizen, you look at Seiko. What they do, they have their divers, they have their aviator lookalikes, they have their sports range and their dress range with the Presage and all that. Kentex also does the same similar model. So they have their dive rated models. They have this particular one is their anti-magnetic series.
Okay, let's move on to the next one because we have 5 to go through. So let's look at this one now.
This is a brand I was initially really skeptical of and became really proud of subsequently. So this was about after a year plus of operating Watch Wonderland. By then we were receiving at least 2 requests a week for microbrands all over the world to list onto our catalog at Watch Wonderland. So my job every week is to basically try to politely turn certain brands down or receive samples and be very disappointed with them. So when Waldhoff came to me, I was like, okay, a sub $2,000 to be on. That immediately triggered, alarm bells in my head because it was that. Oh, Xavier likes his watch. He's watching. So because you don't associate quality to be on below a 5-digit mark, right? Previously, so the guy insists. You know what? The founder, Nicholas, insisted to send a sample over. I took the watch, I wore it for 2 weeks. I treated it like a G-Shock, basically. I abused the hell out of it. And I was pleasantly surprised to find that after 2 weeks, the watch really stood up to its promise, and it was still in very good shape and running very well.
And you said this is sub 2,000?
So they started making the watches at a sub $2,000 mark. They started around 2K Sing. Now they have moved out slightly a bit with the newer models, about 3K Sing, but they're still offering compelling tourbillons. Tourbillons with very large power reserves, 80 hours and above.
Cecil says he's got a Waldhoff, and I was just wondering, like, did you sell it to Cecil when? Cecil?
I think not my sole effort. I think it was a team's effort Okay lah. To be very honest, this was Cecil's effort lah. He convinced himself lah. We didn't really sell. Right? That's true, right? So I think we just managed to inform the audience about the watches, and a lot of them, we are very happy that a lot of our buyers are informed watch collectors. They are not your usual kind of watch collectors who fall for typical branding campaigns, but instead they're the kind that really go and find out information about the watches. So what we do is we offer information as much as possible through our Instagram, through our Facebook post, through our Facebook Live, through our website. We make the information accessible to them so that they can do their own research and make their purchase decisions. Yeah.
Soon enough, Cecil say you after your IFB live on Waldhoff. So yeah, I actually interviewed Nicholas from Waldhoff a couple of months ago when he came out to Singapore. So we actually talked about how how he actually made these watches that are like sort of complication level watches with good finishing at such a price point. So he basically said that right from the start, they were only interested in making technical watches. But at the same time, they always wanted to source for movements that were not probably super expensive Swiss movements, but they source from Japan and from China. Really, I would say, dependable movements, dependable complications, and then they finish them in the way that they did, so that they were able to offer high-com watches and the kind of prices that you see at Watch Wonderland.
Yes. And of course, presenting them in a format that is not cheesy or cheap looking.
Yeah. So now you like this one, right? Or this brand, right?
Yes, Mr. Jones. Yeah, I've seen this in the shop.
So Mr. Jones was actually a brand that I think Suki wanted to bring in for many years already, but he never really had a chance because it didn't really sit. It didn't had a proper place. Had a proper placement in the Red Army watches catalog. So when Watch Wonderland opened up, he finally had a chance to insert this into the collection. They are from UK, London-based watchmakers, designing very unconventional style watches based on very, very humble movements. So you're using your typical ronda movements, some seagull, some Miyota movements, but nothing fancy. But they have managed to make timekeeping fun. So like for this one, it is every single of their watch is designed in collaboration with a different artist. This designed with a artist that specializes in painting flora and fauna. The way you read this is that you read the hours at the 12:30
right?
on top, at the moon where it is, and the minutes are on the back of the tiger that looks like stripes of the tiger.
So I know recently they did a collaboration with I think it was a comic book artist, Ryan Claytor. It was a Step Right Up limited edition carnival watch. I thought that was really, really nice. Did you guys have any stock of that? I think it was sold out in a few hours.
You know, the amazing it's amazing to be a MJW retailer, but there's an annoying part. We can never get our hands on the ultra limited editions. The pieces, they are numbering below 80 pieces in total. Because by the time I got into the system and tried to order them, they're all sold out already.
Are all the watches limited edition?
That's the beautiful part about, I think, all the brands in Watch Wonderland. They are not all of them are limited edition, but because of the sheer volume, and by sheer volume, I mean the lack of sheer volume, all the watches are in very small quantities. So each SKU that you see are probably made in 50 to 80 pieces max.
Okay. Now we'll be pressed for time, so we move on.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Gorilla. Ronald's favorite brand. Ronald, are you still there?
Pay Ronald to wear the watches, man.
Does Ronald have this watch?
I think
yes. One of the new ones in
colors.
Yes, Ronald said okay.
So the watches the three watches I talked about previously represents the past and current state of Watch Wonderland. This represents the future, where the brands, we are growing, we are reaching our 3rd year mark soon. And similarly, the brands that we carry are also growing as well. So this is the next evolution of Gorilla, a brand that I think a lot of people are familiar with, founded by two very famous watch designers, Octavio and Lucas. And this is really the next evolution in their brand.
Okay. What makes you say that this represents the future of our Watch Wonderland in terms of the kind of products that you bring in?
We started selling a lot of dive watch-like watches, simple three-handers, field watches, aviator watches, and we have moved out in terms of getting. We have got the complications like GMT, and then we have gotten more complications like tourbillons, and now we're having very interesting things done like this, for example, which is a wandering hours complication, and it is still beneath the independent sphere that is below $10,000. So the brands, the smaller players are actually doing more for less money. That is what I can put it in briefly as.
Okay, this is a brand that has really gotten a lot of traction in recent years. So, do you think that its rise was in part due to the people behind it, the creators behind it? Octavia is obviously he came from AP, so he has a lot of clout in starting a new brand.
I think pedigree does definitely help. You have a lot of famous former watch executives coming out with big brands. Notable examples would be like Maximilian Brewster himself, and then you have people like Ming Tian, who was actually a photographer for watches, and then you have Octavio, who was the chief artistic officer of AP coming out. Their pedigree certainly does not hurt the initiation of their own brands. But at the same time, these people got to where they were because of their talents as well. So it's not exactly a free ride, I would say.
Okay. John has ordered something also. He's ordered this particular piece.
Correct. So this was crazy. After we did a live session with Octavio, we sold a substantial amount of this of the 2020 collection, of the 4 models that we announced.
Wow. Okay. Okay, one more to end this sort of.
Okay, so Nodus is a brand that also represents the next evolution of Watch Wonderland. We are the very first, this brand has been around for a few years, and we are the first retailer in the world, not just in Singapore or in Asia, to represent them. And I think this was a really a test. I would like to see as a testimonial to our reputation to the work that we do daily at Watch Wonderland. That a brand like them, who is traditionally very against retail, manages to trust us. Because in the world of microbrands, we have this saying that the whole concept is to cut out the middleman. But we have always advocated that it is actually about finding the correct middleman, and that's what we aspire to. So Nodus is at first look a very simple watch. They make divers, they make few watches, but go beyond the basic outline and the silhouette of the watches. You will see that they are a brand that places a lot of attention to the dial work, to the component manufacture, to the case finishing. And this is, Nodus themselves represent a next evolution in the world of micro brands, where they are not, these brands are not just making homages, but they are making original designs, original creations, and elevating themselves through very tiny applications of techniques throughout the entire watch.
Okay, great. Thank you for showing us the watches here. And we just want to get you to share a bit about Watch Wonderland Concepts, which is something that we heard a few weeks ago, that you're starting a new watch creation consultancy service. What's that all about?
So this is actually a concept that we have been wanting to do for a while now, and we thought that now is the right time to do so, because the whole COVID situation has allowed us rather an opportunity because of the lessening of foot traffic, the lessening of physical duties at the store. We could now pivot our attentions to start something we always wanted to, which is a fully integrated watch consultancy service that does everything from watch design, branding, marketing, campaign creation, to production and warranty servicing. So I believe we are the first concept in the world doing this. They are watch design studios. They are also watch contract manufacturers. But we are the first to really provide an end-to-end service.
What kind of service are you talking about?
We're talking about, if you are somebody who wants to create your own brand, you can come on board, contact us, share with us your vision. And, a lot of people are creating their own microbrands these days, but they can't come to always face the same setbacks, the same obstacles. And we hope to offer our expertise, our network, to help these people circumvent these obstacles. So, you can come to us with maybe just a design brief, not even a design. Tell us what you want to do, and we will give you concept drawings of a watch. We will discuss with you, refine the detail, the design, and get a prototype done, and then continue down the path, which is to have the watch produced, to have it QC, to have it brought to market, and and to build a brand that actually sustains itself.
I imagine that this is something that this is an idea that you have after, I guess, working with some of the Singapore microbrand owners. Is that right?
So actually, interesting fact, I've actually been doing this before Watch Wonderland started. I was actually a watch consultant for brands prior to Watch Wonderland started. So this is in a way coming full circle as well. I'm taking all that I've learned, observed over the past 2 years plus, and applying it to something that I was already doing prior.
So you mentioned earlier that you're designing some watches, so you already have some projects in the pipeline?
Yes. So it's quite interesting because we once we announced this concept, a lot of inquiries came in from all over the world, and we are already currently working. We have secured some deals, secured some contracts. They are signed and already en route. We are proposing some as well in discussion with some people. So I think you can do some of the
Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying that maybe we can show some of the
okay.
Sorry.
Hey, I'm just curious, right? How much does it take for a person to start his own watch brand?
It is actually not as expensive as you think. It's cheaper than starting a cafe, let's put it away. You are looking, you're looking at less than $10,000 to do prototyping, to do branding, to do marketing as well. It's not actually a huge fee. So
Alvin sounds very interested.
No, because
No.
My taste in watches are
not commercial, is it?
Which is perfect. So as you can tell from this watch over here, it's a concept that I'm working with a overseas potential owner. I can't review the brand yet. It is, and it won't be the final version. This is actually draft 1, so I already moved on to draft 4 already. These are the things that we're dealing with. A very unorthodox kind of silhouettes and aesthetics, because we are not here to provide you with a Submariner home match creation service. If you want to watch that looks like an Omega on a Submariner, don't come and look for us. But if you're someone who is a bit more dynamic, and we also are blessed to have the luxury to choose who to work with. We want to limit ourselves to working with a maximum of 4 to 6 brand owners a year, to make sure that the people we work with are people who are serious about their craft, serious about starting a brand, and will stay around for a long time. So we also do the necessary background checks. We understand about the person, and if we deem the person unsuitable to be a brand owner, we will tell them straight, look, don't, because you are putting your life savings into a venture that we do not think that you might be suitable for, that you may not have the tenacity or the necessary fundamentals for.
Oh yeah. Wow! What kind of person will set off alarm bells?
A lot. So, I think my teammates at Watch Wonderland will know. I'm approached almost at least once a week in person, or if not once every 2 weeks in person at the store, by someone coming in saying that I want to start my own watch brand. And then I've actually scolded people outright if they say things like, ask them, why do you want to start the brand? And they say, I want to make money. I heard watches is a very easy way to make money. So I am not a conventional business person. I am a watch idealist. It deeply offends my sensitivities. So I go from 0 to 100 quite fast now. And then I start getting the yeah. I even chased a guy out of the store before because he came to me with a RM11, a Richard Mille 11 design, and saying that he designed it and he wants to produce this. I was like, oh my God, please don't insult my intelligence. Yeah.
Wait, okay. Maybe we take that offline. So
Sorry, yeah, but don't become reaction again.
this picture that you're showing, right? You know, it came from you, or was it a collaboration from the
It came from
guys?
us. So he had, think of it as an eyesight test, right? When we talk to a brand owner, we ask about what kind of watches do you like, what kind of aesthetics do you believe in, do you have any other interests? Do you like? So in this case, this guy had an interest in architecture, and so I went deep. What kind of architecture do you like? So he mentioned about his country of birth. I cannot disclose where he's from, but it's somewhere in Europe.
Europe.
Yes. His country's architecture is a combination between neo-Gothic, Art Deco, and brutalism. So I had to take these three things and combine.
You damn cultured, man.
No, I pretend.
I have to say that the Art Deco theme. I mean, I get it from this watch. I can see the Art Deco in this.
Okay,
you're right.
Sorry,
so
please continue.
The middle dial, right, is actually formed by the very common arc windows of certain European architecture. The case shape itself is inspired by modern organic architecture of the country. So we are combining, and of course, tied together with a relatively Art Deco dial theme. So yeah, the challenge is for us to interpret a brand owner's vision. Sometimes a lot of people have a vision in their mind, a concept in their mind, but they do not know how to draw it out. So I have to spend a lot of time actually not drawing the watch, but spending a lot of time talking with the brand owner, learning about their aspirations and their sense of aesthetics, and then spending a much lesser period of time coming out with it.
Okay, can I show the next slide?
What is that? What am I looking at?
This is actually a more in-house project that we are doing. It is actually inspired by your old school DuPont lighters. So the top is actually a piece that covers the bottom. So you can flick it up, it makes a ding sound, right? And the idea of this is not dissimilar to like a reversal where you are maximizing every surface area of a watch to display art. In this case, so the top row is actually the cover, the bottom row is the dial itself. If you open up the watch, there's an additional surface over there beneath the cover to have another layer of artwork.
Okay, wait, you're saying the top row is the cover.
The cover of the watch
flips, it's open like a door, is it?
It opens upwards like a door, yes, pretty much.
Upwards, okay.
Like if you were to take a vintage compass, you open it up, the cover.
So there's a hole in the middle.
Hole? So it gives you an idea of the timekeeping. This is still a concept in development.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is like used by another brand already? Like
no,
you know?
This is a concept that my hobby after work is also designing watches, so I just design things now.
Wow.
So this is a concept that I'm building probably for a brand that we will launch ourselves, but unsure yet.
This is really cool.
Yeah, Alvin says it's a beautiful piece. I'm not sure whether he's referring to this or the previous one.
I think it was the previous one.
Yeah. Young Kong is like a case back.
A hunter case back, but a hunter case front.
Correct. Oh my God, Cecile, we know. Yes, shaped like a lip watch. So LYP is actually my favorite French brand ever.
Okay, interesting. So I guess you have three potential candidates.
Buyers.
Has Feynman already.
Congratulations, Yongkyung and Cecile, on your new watch purchase.
No, this will take a long. This will not be out, so maybe about a year and a half time or so. So this is also another part of what we're doing, which our services also includes 3D rendering and packaging design. So we will be. This is an example of a watch we'll be launching for a very interesting company who is actually a mintage. They make coins.
Oh.
So the coin design is done by a very famous artist in Russia called Roman Putin, who is known as the pretty much the flag bearer for his industry these days. We are translating his coin design into a watch. This
Like
for
what?
US. Sorry?
On the dial?
Yes. So we are replicating his coin, which is a hand-carved piece, onto the dial, and creating a case design that is inspired by the coin design. This particular one is the whole team is based around Dante's Inferno, particularly the 7th level of hell. So there is a minotaur on the middle of the watch. I can't really say much. I already say too much really shit. I'm not supposed to talk about this project, but this will be coming really soon. It announced pretty soon on the crowdfunding platform.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. All I can say is you're damn deep with your watches, like so cultured, so money, so artistic references.
No. So this is another concept that I'm building. It is a modern interpretation of a sector dial watch. You know, sector dials are very common, but this is like what sector dials will look like if you put it into a modern silhouette and updated with modern references. So you can see the lugs are skeletonized. They are also, in a way, built to form the natural crown guards of the watch. We are playing with different things like brand new hand styles and hand shapes.
Okay. And this. I mean, whatever the last few slides that we've just seen are just stuff that you just like kind of thought up and you know. And
some of these are already ongoing work that will be launched. Like this one may be launched, but I think it will only come next year.
This one definitely
launching.
This one waiting for Ronald to take on, right?
No, Ronald won't do this. Ronald will do
this is Yong Kyung.
So Yong Kyung,
this is Simon has a very strong identity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this one, which Alvin.
This one will go through lah.
Nice, yeah.
This one, Alvin will be your first customer, Alvin Chong.
It's a very polarizing design, but I think that's what we want to try to do. We don't want to create, you know, if you want to design a very basic 4-lug watch with a very simple 3-hander that's circular, don't look for us. We are also not interested in designing this. We are interested in also challenging manufacturing capabilities of watches at a lower price tier, because we believe that, you know, good design is not only reserved for higher price or hotel horology or high horology pieces.
Okay.
The watches that you see are all going to be priced below $1,000.
Below $1,000, you say?
Below
$1,000.
Okay.
They start at about $300+.
Yeah. So
wow.
You know, like you know, creating watches and owning a brand, right? It's not just about making or designing or getting inspiration, but it's also about the selling of the watches. So you're saying that the Watch Wonderland concepts are able to assist with that as well?
We are for that part, we are into brand owner training. So brand owner training is very different. It's where, you know, we teach them. A lot of them are already natural salespeople. Some of them come in with naturals. So a variety of people come to us. Some come in with very strong design skill sets. I'm currently talking to a gentleman who is actually a very recognized watch designer. He has designed many watches that, in fact, even Crown has covered before. Right? Cool. I can't expose the guy. But he is not very versed in the selling, marketing, and branding side of things. So that's where we come in and fill the gap for him. Right? For some other owners, they are very eloquent, very good at presenting themselves, and are very good at customer PR service as well. But they are not good in designing. So that's where we rush in to fill the other gap for them. So we take our full range of capabilities and plug in. It's not like you can just hire us to create a brand for you and then run for you. If so, yeah, I do it myself now. Why do I need to do it for you, right? We are more interested in developing the next generation of independent brand owners who will be around for long and will be able to make a lasting impact in this segment of our market.
Okay.
So again, it's another business born out of idealism.
Okay, but you say you already have like a few partners that you're working with now, so it's like we only saw it on your feed, on my feed. You know, like I think 1 or 2 weeks ago. So that must have been going for quite a while already.
Yes, even prior to this, I already have people messaging me once in a while asking asking to work with me for design and consultancy. But I've always turned them down because my priority was towards Watch Wonderland and projects I have in my hand. But now with the whole situation, I could free myself out a bit more to handle and take on these projects.
Okay. Well, before we go, would you like to share with us any new drops that Watch Wonderland will be having in the next couple of months?
New drops for watches, is it?
Mm.
Of course, we will see the new Gorilla collection coming in incremental stages. We have very interesting new pieces coming up from the local brands. Grupo Gamma is fulfilling its Nexus, a single handle wandering hours. Unfortunately, you can't buy anymore because it's all sold out. Feynman from YK is launching its first dive model, the Feynman Cove. Yep. So they will be available in store hopefully soon. I think end of September. What else do you have? A lot. There's a lot of new drops, and we are also eagerly awaiting the shipment of Wilhelm prisms. It's a new model, but I don't think that'll be very soon. That'll be quite a few months from now. Yeah. At the same time, we have a few very nice Zelos Novas coming in.
Okay, great. Yes, new watches from Grupo Gamma, Feynman, Gorilla, Willem, and Zelos, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who would like to check out the new watches, do head down to Watch Wonderland. They are located at Suntec City, Tower what?
Tower 1 and 2.
Tower 1 and 2. Ground floor, right?
Ground floor. We are adjacent to Pasabella.
Pasabella, that's right.
Yep, great. Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us here tonight, MX. We had a good time chatting with you as always.
Yep.
Thank you so
much for having me.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. John, Tom, Zabriel, Alvin. Thank you for always being with us here on Wednesday nights at 8:30.
Yeah, guys. So, yeah, Tom says Rolex in September. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, Alvin is really looking forward to the new drops.
Right. Thank you all so much. Thanks, MX, for joining us again, and for all you guys staying all the way through. So have a good evening and have a good rest of the week. So see you at our next live chat. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.